Qt6 CPP overview, installation and exploration of Qt Creator. So let's talk about Qt from a very, very high level. Qt is actually a set of libraries written in C++. So if you don't know what a library is, it is a software component that is reusable on other applications. Now, Qt is split into major parts. There is core widgets and QML core non-visual classes, which is what we're talking about, and we don't have the opportunity to talk about all of them. Core is so big, I've had to split that up into multiple courses. So we're talking about core for beginners. Then there's widgets. This is an older GUI that runs on desktops, and then there's QML, which is a newer GUI that runs anywhere. And quite often I get asked, well, wait a minute, there's two different GUIs. Which one should I use to these widgets or QML? Well, widgets is the older technology, and I suspect they will start phasing that out over time, although it is very professional. If you've ever used widgets or seen a widgets application, it's insanely cool. QML, however, is a newer technology, and it is being developed at rapid speed. Now, Come Out runs anywhere, and I do mean that anywhere from your computer to your cell phone to a heads-up display in the space shuttle, it will run there. So we're going to talk about Qt more in depth, but I really wanted to give you a high-level overview of just how massive Qt is. Qt is massive, and there's no way you can possibly cover all of it in one course. So we're talking about beginners. You see that little red arrow? You are here. This is the specific course we're talking about. Core for beginners is also an intermediate advanced course that's going to go way beyond what this course covers. And then we've got widgets and QML. Now, those build upon Qt core widgets, remember, is the older GUI still very relevant and very, very popular. There's a beginner's intermediate advanced, and then QML, which is the new GUI that runs anywhere from your desktop to your cell phone to in dashboards, displays, and vehicles that also has a beginner's intermediate advanced. These courses take a lot of time to create, and then off to the right. We have some other courses which still fit, but they kind of just branch off and do their own thing. For example, design patterns talks about the appropriate way of doing things. Migrating talks about migration issues, and then embedded programming. I want to talk about some embedded stuff because embedded is a completely different topic. And then deployment issues along with PyQt. And then I may develop other courses as well. So if you have ideas for courses, drop me a note and let me know. But I wanted to give you a good solid overview of what we're talking about. That yellow rectangle, the beginners, this is the course. We're talking about the fundamental starting point. What is Qt? It's a question I'm often asked. Well, it's libraries written in C++ is kind of the standard generic answer. However, it's a little bit demeaning because Qt has grown way beyond what I would even consider a framework and is pretty much an entire ecosystem for developers. Pretty much C++ can do anything, and Qt is written in C++, so Qt can do anything, and it runs almost anywhere. They mean that. I mean anywhere. So Qt covers everything from basic applications all the way up to no joke, high performance, multi-threaded TCP servers with a 3D headset touchscreen display. Yes, you can actually do that in Qt. Believe me, I've done it. It's actually insanely cool. This technology takes really challenging problems and makes them very straightforward and very simple. Now, the really cool part about Qt is the same code base that runs on a desktop can run on a dashboard, a mobile device, an embedded system, pretty much anywhere C++ runs. The technology is just insane once you actually wrap your head around it. Another popular newbie question I'm often asked is, what can you make with Qt? Well, basically anything, and I hate giving that answer because they kind of roll their eyes and goes, well, yeah, anything. I mean, anything you can build in C++, you can build with Qt. So console applications, mobile applications, embedded desktop, pretty much anything. So for example, the IT, we're going to use Qt Creator was created with Qt. Chances are a lot of the popular applications you use, even video games, are created with Qt. If you have a fancy TV or like a refrigerator with a touchscreen display, there's probably Qt running in that thing. It can do literally anything. It's just crazy. One thing I love about Qt is very versatile. You can install it just about anywhere. For example, I have this Linux virtual machine that I'll be doing most of my development on. So Linux is a little bit more challenging than Windows and Mac. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, well, make sure your system's up to date. You are updating your system, aren't you? If you're updating your system, this should be fairly snappy and a short step. However, if you're not updating your system, yeah, be prepared. Also, go ahead and paste this in. We're going to install G++. I have this installed already. Feel free to use whatever compiler you want, but I'll be using G++ for my tutorials. From there, go ahead and go to download and try. Scroll all the way down to downloads for open source users and the go to open source. Make sure you understand all of the obligations for open source. I've covered this in previous videos. It's pretty straightforward, but you have to really give credit where credit's due and make sure you are following the open source licensing from there. Click download the Qt online installer. Go ahead and scroll down and click download. The online installer is, well, pretty small, so it should be a pretty snappy download even on the little virtual machine here. Once you've got this, go ahead, show and folder. And right-click properties, and you want to make sure that this is executable. If you're command line wizard, of course, feel free to do all of this right off the command line. From there, simply run the installer and everything is, well, pretty straightforward. Make sure you have a Qt account. If not, go and sign up for one. This is a big turnoff for a lot of people, but I can tell you this is not a paid advertisement. I'm just a normal user and I have not gotten any spam from Qt whatsoever. So it's actually not bad. But you'll need an email and a password. Go and sign up and then hit next. Make sure you've read and approved the allegations of using open source. The big takeaway here is that you're not going to modify Qt. And if you do, you give those modifications back to Qt and the open source community. Also, you have to follow all the licensing guidelines, all of which is available out on Qt. Okay, if you're feeling very generous, you can help them by allowing statistics in Qt Creator. A lot of people don't trust that. So they just go to disable. I'm going to do disable simply because I'm a little virtual machine. And what I do on this virtual machine is not really what I do in real life most of the time. Now, I want a custom installation. You can definitely feel free to do the default, but I want a custom installation, so I'm a bit to browse and I want to put this in a special folder. I'm here. I'm going to tell it to go into the Qt, subfolder it next. A lot of people will instantly go in and say, oh, I want everything, but then they're shocked that it is a massive download. Again, I'm on a small virtual machine here, so I don't want 5 gigs when in doubt. Don't select the whole thing, only select what you need. What you need for these videos right off the bat is desktop. And we might even touch it on the compatibility modules. If you want stuff later, you can run the maintenance tool and install it after the fact. You don't need to download everything right up front. Go ahead and agree to the license agreement and go ahead and install. All right, once the installer is done, Linux has another extra little step here. You're going to want to go out to Google and you're going to want to look out for your operating system. How to install OpenGL. Once you find those steps, go ahead and follow those directions on how to install OpenGL for your Linux version. The big takeaway here is that he has an amazing graphics engine, but it does rely on OpenGL. So if you don't have that installed, you're going to have a bad time when you go to do QML or Qt widgets. Back in the installer, you can just make sure Launch Qt Creator checked and hit finish. Now, let's say you've been happily coding away, but you find there's a feature you're missing and you want to go out and reinstall it. You don't have to reinstall all of Qt. Instead, go out to wherever you install Qt and run the maintenance tool. This is the de facto on every operating system. And I'm going to cover this in Mac and Windows as well. But you just run this maintenance tool and it starts the installer, hit next. And then make sure you've got add or remove components selected from there at next. It will download the meta information. And then you can just simply select the components that you want. Hit next and follow the directions on the screen. So let's take a quick tour of the IDE. So first off, what is an IDE? Well, it's Qt Creator. You're looking at it. Integrated Development Environment is what it stands for. And if you're wondering how I got to this point, you simply open Qt on whatever operating system you installed it in. For me, it's just right here, Creator. It's going to open this up. Now, there are some different buttons and tabs and everything gets very, very confusing, so you can have different sessions, which is a bit advanced for this series. But basically, you can have different sessions of development. You have projects, which is the current tab on examples. That's right. There's a ton, and I mean a ton of examples are already baked into Qt. I can't tell you the number of times somebody messaged me and says, how do I make an elastic note? And I say, have you seen the elastic notes example? When in doubt, always check the examples first and select your version for choosing the example. There are tutorials baked right in. Most of these are seminars or online talks. They're not really tutorials in the sense that you might be thinking of, for example, the course that you're watching right now. Some of these can get very lengthy and some of them can get very technical. So if you don't have the prerequisites, it's just going to unapologetically lose you very fast. And then there is a marketplace. So if you are developing something with Qt, you can put it out in the Qt marketplace. All right. There's the edit tab over here, which, well, we don't have an open project, so there's really nothing to display. Debug, same thing. We don't have an open project, so there's nothing to display. I'm always wondered why those aren't great out of similar design and projects, and then you have a comprehensive help system. This is massive. I mean, every facet of Qt is in the built-in system. This is insanely cool. They even have a getting started IDE overview and user interface. And pretty much most of the things we're talking about, you can actually dig into the help system and read in depth how everything works. Now, in case you're wondering, this is called Qt Creator, and it's the idea we're going to be working with. This is built with Qt. That's right. The same thing that you're learning built this entire idea. That's how powerful Qt is. Pretty cool, huh? Now, one thing I want to talk about, if we go to Tools Options and bring up Kit, you'll see this order detected. I would caution you from modifying that, but what a kit is it tells Qt how to build the program. You can see how it says name desktop Qt with a version that's a variable. So it's really defining what we're talking about. So if I'm going to build for the desktop, this is what it's going to do. And I don't expect you by any means to understand any of this stuff is. But this is how your program is going to be created. So 9 times out of 10, if you have a problem building a program, it's right here with your compiler. You don't have a compiler installed. Really, what we're doing here is we're running GCC or whatever compiler we chose out on the command line. So if it's not installed, it's simply not going to work. CMake should be baked right in with Qt. You can see in a little parentheses Qt, which means it got installed when we installed Qt again. Don't mess with this if you don't have to. You can see which versions you have, and you can add versions manually if you need to. You can also link to an existing Qt version. So if you have a custom Qt installation, you just link right to it. You can see what compilers you have debuggers make and so on. We're going to talk about all of this stuff. But at a high level, kids define how Qt builds things. Version is the version that you can build on. Compiler takes all the code and compiles it into object files, debuggers. Tell us what we did wrong, and CMake is the build tool that helps us tell the compiler how to actually build things. Gets kind of crazy. All right, so let's go ahead and let's make a new console application. This is pretty much where we're going to be living, or this series. Some say Qt console. This is untitled, and put it wherever you want to put your code. And you can check this little use as default project location, so you don't have to re-enter that every single time. Build system CMake. So this is a little bit confusing. We're going to talk about make a little bit more. But CMake tells the compiler how to build Qt, and that's a little bit backwards. But basically, you'll write code, and then the computer's going to build it. You mean they build system to build with, and we're going to CMake now. Special note, QMake is available. And you may be wondering what the difference between these two is. We'll cover it later, but at a high level, Qt built QMake, but they're migrating to CMake. So if you're from a previous version of Qt, you can still use QMake, but we will favor CMake. Translation file, that is, if you had some language translations you wanted to put into your app, and then Kit selection, which we've already talked about, where these videos we're going to use Qt6. Now, Qt is pretty good at backwards compatibility. So as 6.1 and 6.2 and all those come out, you'll see this number increment. However, the videos we're talking about should work just fine. We don't really want any project management, but if you had any source control or anything like that, that's where you would add it in. All right, now that we have a basic application, we can see the structure of the app here. So we have our project, we have our CMake list, which we'll talk about another video, and then our actual source code. Then we have all of these CMake modules now. Remember, CMake tells the compiler, or I should say the computer, how to build things. And here's Qt in CMake. If you're really brave, you can pop one open. Just don't try to modify it or you may have a bad time. All right, for those of you who are brave, you can go ahead and click this button right here or press Control or on the keyboard. If you go to the one below it, it does debug mode. So let's just run this and see what happens. There it is. Our application does absolutely nothing, but I wanted to show you what a console app looks like. Let's go ahead and close that. Now, if we go into projects down here, you see we have a build and run build as well, our kit. We have a debug and release and all these other options. So debug is pretty much what we're going to stay with. This is where you are building the application releases, what you would do just before you give it to the end customer. A bit advanced for this course. Just understand there's a debugging release. We're going to stay with debug. And in run, you see how this run in terminal is checked. If I uncheck that and then run it, notice how nothing happens. But we get this down here, it's blinking red. Our application is actually running inside the IDE. And then we have the stop button, or we could debug. I'm going to hit stop and you can see the program has finished. So if you ever want to toggle between the IDE or a terminal, you just check that box. I'm going to pretty much stay in the terminal as much as possible. And if you're really curious, you can look at all these other settings. Now let's talk about debugged. What is debugging? Well, it's a science in itself, and it's how you play around with figuring out why your program's not running, and we're not going to use this a whole lot because it gets a bit advanced for this course. But just in case you accidentally click it, let's go and close all this stuff. We're going to click this guy here, start debugging of a project, and you'll notice it goes a lot slower. And that's because your computer is building, compiling, and then stepping through the instructions. And eventually it will, at the speed of this virtual machine, eventually get to the point. We can start stepping through the code, figuring out what's going on. Now it's just sitting here going and going and going. And it's saying debugging starts. So let's go ahead and pause this. All right, so there we go. We are in our main function. Don't expect you to even know what a function is at this point on this file. Line 7 at this memory address. Now this is why we're kind of staying out of here. This course is built for beginners, and debugging is definitely 100% not designed for beginners at this point. You don't even know what a function is or what a memory address is or any of that or any of this stuff. So if you see this big ugly screen, really all you've done is you've run a debug mode, simply hit this red stop button. And then flip back over to edit to get rid of all that stuff. We simply don't need it. When in doubt, click the green arrow, not the green arrow with the bug. Now, at times you may see me actually build or rebuild. So this is the build button here. And you see there's nothing to do because we've already built it. Let's jump out to our code folder here. This is what we're actually doing. So here is our code. Notice how there's our CMake lists and our main CPP. This is the actual source code file that we're working with in the IDE. What Qt is doing, or I should say, what the compiler and the builds we're doing are building this folder. So I'm going to get rid of this guy. Just to show you, I'm going to bring this back in, click this build button. Now it goes through the entire build process. Do you see us kind of stepping through this thing? I go back out here now. We have our build folder again, and this is what it's doing, is it's generating all this stuff for us. Now, if you're on Windows, you probably have an untitled.exe. I'm on Linux, so I just have this guy. Mac will have a completely different folder structure, but this is what we're doing now. At times you may want to, right? Click and rebuild or clean. So if you cleaning 3 files. What that does is it removes the buy-in area that we just compiled. And of course we'd want to build, and it will regenerate that binary. Now rebuild does pretty much both those steps at the same time, or it's just going to rebuild everything forcefully. It's going to clean it out. I shouldn't say clean it. It's going to override the files. And you see how that's what it's doing. So if you ever see me build or clean or rebuild, that's really all we're doing, is we are wiping out and rebuilding those files that the compiler has generated for us. Now, back in our application, one last little snippet. Let's say we don't know what this guy is. We can just simply hit F1 on the keyboard, and it brings up the help system directly to it 90% of the time. This works just fine. But if you're ever curious what something is, you just highlighted F1 on the keyboard, and it brings up the help system, saves you having to go to the help system and trying to find it. To get rid of this window, simply click this button over here. Thank you for watching the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe the channel. Let's explore more about Qt6 in next video.